Hello, everybody. Hello, welcome back. Welcome back. Just a couple of days after my most recent live stream, I thought, here I am. I do one on Sunday, and then we all take a week off. We relax. We think about other things. We go into this week with peace of mind, knowing that Roma have got it covered. Roma know exactly what's happening. Um, Perhaps Roma know exactly what's happening, but we don't. We didn't. I don't think anyone saw this coming. Not even the most reliable people out there saw this one coming. A lot of rumors floating around on Monday morning, and then obviously the rumors materialized in the news that Florent Ghisolfi, as well as interim CEO Lorenzo Vitali, are both leaving the club. And and it happened on the eve of Giampiero Gasperini's press conference, first ever press conference as a Roma manager. I wanted to welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining me in this live stream today. We will discuss Florent Ghisolfi's exit, which sort of took us all by surprise, and some people are more shocked than others. And then obviously we will also talk about Giampiero Gasperini's press conference, which was very interesting, and I think also contributes a bit to what we're about to say on this Florent Ghisolfi matter. In the meantime, just let me read out some of the comments I saw that some people already wrote before the live stream started. So, ciao, Andy from Jeff. Santa Madonna, what a day! Until we hire a replacement who is representing us in negotiations for incoming, outgoing transfers, how badly does this shakeup impact our mercato plans? Let me get to that later on. So I see here. Oh, Germanicus, ciao, Andy, ciao, guys. Thank you so much for being here with us, JJ. Let's go. Who else? Ciao, Andy. I'm frustrated. How come Roma has problems with management every year? We need to be consistent and back somebody for a long time. Dachi, ciao, Andy. What's up? Thank you so much for joining, everybody. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. We are almost there. Well, I think we did 2,000 subscribers. So keep on subscribing. Put a like on this video so that more people can join us. Yes, like the live stream, guys. Ciao, Andy. Ciao, Shaggy. Who in their right mind is gonna want to work here? Matthew. Well, this is I want to say something because I saw a comment that was mentioning good evening from Serbia. Thank you so much for following us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If Massara comes in, says Mario, it's a strong Italian core. Might be not so bad. Greetings, Andy. Wishing John speedy recovery. Best from Charlotte. Thank you so much, Mario. Good news on John's front. He is back soon. So this is we are talking about returning for the podcast together. So that's the latest news. We are thinking of restarting the podcast. So keep an eye out. Ciao, Andy from Toronto. Thanks for the stream. Thank you so much, Michael, for joining. This is made possible by you guys that you want to interact, you want to discuss, and I'm very happy to do that. I wanted to bring forth as we try to get into this debate whether Roma have any idea what they're doing. How come nobody saw this coming? What does this mean exactly for our transfer plans? Who is representing us? What's happening? Why is it happening now in the middle of June with Giampiero Gasperini, who is being presented as Roma's new head coach? And I wanted to mention a comment here that someone posted before the live stream started that says, I was eager to see Gasperini's and Ranieri's mannerisms today to see how bothered they were by this shakeup. Maybe I missed something, but they didn't seem disturbed by it. Well, I wanted to, for those of you that didn't follow the press conference, it went on today at noon local time. It went on for about an hour. It was a pretty lengthy press conference. And exactly, as this friend of ours says, I expected something. I expected to see something. I expected to hear something with regards to the news that Florent Ghisolfi has agreed to part ways with Roma. It's pretty significant. A director that was brought in a year ago, sporting director who left Nice. We all remember he left Nice. He had to end his contract there. He joined Roma. And was present when Gasperini was unveiled a couple of weeks ago. He was there. He's in the photo, shaking his hand. When Gasperini is talking about why he joined Roma, he mentions Ghisolfi, he mentioned his scouting network, he mentions his team. And I was expecting to hear something in reference to that. I thought the media were going to butcher Gasperini and Ranieri, both of whom attended. Ranieri sat alongside Gasperini. I thought the media were gonna have a field day in questioning both of them as to what exactly is going on behind the scenes. Uh, when are we going to have an unstressful day as a Roma fan? Never. Vic, it feels like we're okay rolling with Balza if Massara doesn't join Roma, and this is what I'm saying. So let me just get the Grande Andy. I like Gasperini's spirit today. Yes, this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about two guys, Ranieri and Gasperini, who looked so cool. They looked so at ease. They were having the time of their lives. Whereas everyone else perhaps expected them to be annoyed, be upset, be stressed out, maybe not knowing what to say. I I didn't see or hear anything of the sort. Not only that, there was one question regarding the sporting director. Claudio Ranieri just said that Roma are evaluating the options on the table and that a decision will be announced soon. That's it. That was all. There was no more, there was no back and forth. There were no questions about what happened between them and Ghisolfi, who made the decision, nothing. And both of them looked very, very relaxed, good spirits, very friendly with each other, very friendly with the media, which is difficult to do if you're Gasperini, who has a pretty odd track record with his interactions with the media. And I was like, did something happen behind the scenes, or are we just dreaming it up? It's pretty major when a sporting director leaves after only 1 year. But the lack of reaction for both Gasperini and Ranieri makes me, I mean, it doesn't make me think. I mean, it leads me to believe that both of them, first of all, they don't oppose Ghisolfi leaving. And second of all, they may have something to do with it. I wouldn't be honestly surprised if Gasperini came in, confronted Ranieri, confronted Ghisolfi, they held a bunch of meetings, and maybe everyone got the conclusion, the main conclusion, that perhaps it's not a perfect recipe for success. There is already talk of Florent Ghisolfi receiving offers from abroad, from Juve. So that will be also interesting to see perhaps what's happening on his end. Did he feel like he could do better somewhere else? But in my mind, when I saw how cool both Ranieri and Gasperini were today, I was completely taken aback because I thought it was going to be a shit show, guys. I thought we were going to see a lot of unhappy comments from Gasperini, a lot of comments about, Roma starting off on the wrong foot with him in the summer market. We know how Gasperini can be. He is very, very easily irritable. He is not someone who is easily pleased by the club's management. Uh, Atalanta, no matter how much they've tried to satisfy him over the years, they've always gotten criticism from him. That's how he is. And I thought this is what I was going to see today. And that was not the case. And that surprised me a lot. And I think it says a great deal about this situation, about the dynamics that we don't know much about, because for all we know, Ghisolfi was perfectly fine, and says that there was no reports especially in recent, in recent weeks, in recent months. Sure, Italian media love to dig up stuff and try to say, oh, this guy doesn't fit here and this guy is not. They always like to stir up something, but this summer, so far at least, it was relatively quiet. It seemed like, yes, finally we had found a perfect balance with Ranieri, Ghisolfi, and Gasperini. Well, clearly someone didn't know something. Hi, Andy. Can't understand why Roma would get rid of a great director like Ghisolfi. He's getting linked with Juve. What do you think about it? I think that there is always, there is something I think, which is, yeah, it's a shame because I defended Ghisolfi on here, and I'm a fan of his work. I didn't think that he did too badly with Roma. He got a lot of good players for Roma. He got a lot of useful players for Roma. I was excited to see more from him going into this transfer window. Um, but I also interpret Gasperini's and Ranieri's silence on the matter as almost like a vote of approval for this decision. And you know what? I have to trust these guys because Ranieri himself said it's going to be very difficult. The next two upcoming transfer windows will be difficult. Roma must adhere to certain financial fair play parameters by the end of this month. And but you must trust us. That's what he reiterated. You must trust us. We must continue with confidence. And I feel like I gotta do it. I gotta hand it to them. Because if things were really off, Gasperini is not someone who hides it. Today, he was, I mean, he went on for an hour. I'm going to bring up some of the talking points from his press conference, which you can obviously find the whole transcript on Roma Press. You can also find the transcript from Ranieri's contribution to the press conference, which I also found interesting. But as you will see, there was no hint of Gasperini being displeased or upset with the situation. Balzaretti might be the point guy in negotiating with clubs for our priority targets, the Kuiper, Lukumi, etc. Mm, yes, what Vic is referring to, obviously, as Balzaretti returned. Balzaretti is the latest name to be linked with the sporting director vacancy. Balzaretti obviously returned some months ago. I don't remember exactly when. I think at the beginning of this year, and he was integrated in Florent Ghisolfi's team. He was part of Ghisolfi's team, and now the latest idea, according to Sky Sport, is for Balzaretti to be promoted, which is obviously a position that he's occupied elsewhere. He worked for Udinese most recently, and he always had the aspiration for to become a sporting director. I do believe that he was heavily involved in a lot of what went on behind the scenes with Ghisolfi's team. He was an important member of it. Um, and we're going to see what happens, because there is obviously another name mentioned on the table, which is that of Frederic Massara. Massara, who is obviously the guy who worked under Walter Sabatini. Then he had a brief period of time where he worked with Ramon Monchi. Then he left, went to Milan, left again after winning the Scudetto, joined Stade Rennais, left Stade Rennais, and now he's a free agent. Roma reportedly have had contact with him. So we'll have to see. But it looks from these two profiles, these are the main names that have been linked so far. It looks like Roma are looking for sort of like an internal solution. If not Balzaretti, who's already in the club, someone who's familiar with the environment, someone who's familiar with Serie A, and that we will have to see, because I think that matches up pretty well with what Gasperini and Ranieri have both been trying to do, which is keep it simple, keep it efficient, keep it effective, and everybody needs to be on the same wavelength. I don't know if it's the language barrier. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. I don't know, but something makes me think that if those two guys today at the press conference were unbothered, then they had to have a say in the matter. It's not like the Friedkins just went out of their way to sack Ghisolfi just for their own pleasure. Ironically, in past streams, I brought up Ghisolfi and you said it didn't matter. It did. The warnings I gave on his spotty record clearly was also felt by management. I don't know. Because based on what you said in previous streams, you had issues with his transfer market. I didn't have issues with this transfer market, and the reports that have come out recently do not point out to the Friedkins being unhappy with the names he signed. You were clearly unhappy with the players he signed in January. That's not what the reports are saying right now. Right now, the media are speculating, and speculation is about Ghisolfi's handling of Miles Viar's contract negotiations, as well as the sale of Angelino to Al Hilal, which did not go through before the Club World Cup, and now we don't know what's going to happen with Angelino. There has been no mention of the Friedkins being unhappy with the players that Ghisolfi has signed. Actually, during today's press conference, Gasperini, I'm going to get to it, Gasperini has stated numerous times that the base of the team is solid. The names that are on the team are already solid. They're good. That based on what we saw with Ranieri in the second half of the season, the team is good. There is potential there. It's just a matter of finding the right opportunities on the market, which solidifies what Ranieri said in previous press conferences. Remember, right before the season ended, he said, we shall not make a revolution. That's not what we're going to do, because the core of the team is good. Thoughts on Massara, Mario? Again, it's sort of Massara, Balzaretti. These are internal solutions. These are guys that know the Italian football landscape pretty well. It really, in my opinion, it comes down to what exactly are we working with in terms of these financial fair play parameters. Gasperini stressed the importance of signing emerging players. That's what he said. We have to sign emerging players. He said very few clubs are in a position where they can sign established players. We must be good at finding emerging players. Now, what do we want to do, and what can we do? What are the financial capabilities? What are we working with? Where do we want to go look for these emerging talents? Because if you want to go look for in Italy, someone like Massara, also in France, Massara has contacts in France, in Italy, Balzaretti more in Italy. So that really depends on sort of the profile that we're after. The recent reports, again, sort of the things that the names that we keep popping up, it's mostly players in Serie A. We see Lukumi, we see Gudmundsen. We keep seeing, apart from Maxim the Kuiper, we see Scamacca. Obviously a lot of it is also, again, just rumors. But at the same time, it hints at perhaps Gasperini wanting to focus on a certain area, on a certain kind of profile, on perhaps players who are used to Serie A. So Massara would be good. In my opinion, Massara did very well at Milan. We did not see much more beyond that. I did not follow his work at Stade Rennais, despite it was short-lived, and obviously his work prior to Milan was a bit of a mixed bag. You didn't really know how much of a say he had under Walter Sabatini and Ramon Monchi. Off-topic question: who is your favorite player in the Roma squad at the moment? Thanks for letting us know. I think I like Manu Kone very much, just because I think there is so much untapped potential. It's scary. It's scary. The guy scares me because of how good he already is, and he's still not at 100%. Could it have been due to the failed Angelino transfer? That's speculation. It's one of the things. Miles Viar's contract renewal, the discussions, which obviously had to involve Claudio Ranieri. Claudio Ranieri today even mentioned that, I went to Sviar, I talked with him, but the rest was done by Ghisolfi, almost as if to have to pay credit to Ghisolfi after this whole debacle. But yes, the talk in town is that Ghisolfi messed up some of the things leading up to the contract renewal for Miles Viar. And obviously, this sale of Angelino, whenever you can get 25, 30 million for a player like Angelino, you get them. Roma were really this close to sending Angelino to Al Hilal. Now, whether it was Al Hilal who broke off talks because they wanted to focus on Teo Hernandez, or Roma having second thoughts, I don't know what happened, but we obviously were not able to sell Angelino so far. He's still on the team, so And as Ranieri said, we have to come up with a certain X amount of revenue before the end of this month. So Angelino's sale would have definitely helped that. Zaleski will be sold in the coming days. That will be important. But Angelino, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for a player that you paid only 5 million. Strange that Burdisso wasn't linked. Yes, Burdisso was linked. Prade was linked. Those were not. I mean, there's been a lot of stuff coming up. Burdisso, Prade, Planes, and Massar Balzaretti. These are all names that came up in the last few hours. I think Rete Sports mentioned Burdisso and Prade. Let's see. Just need one more old fox for the perfect hat trick. Yes, Rick. Let's see. Let's see. Also unhappy with how he didn't just give Sviar the money. I don't know how this can always be an argument that negotiations are negotiations, called negotiations for a reason. I can't, despite the speculations, I can't fault Ghisolfi. As long as I don't know what's going to happen, maybe we're going to get some report tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, maybe in a week, where they will tell us what really happened. Maybe Ghisolfi was already looking for a replacement for Sviar. I don't know. Right now, I don't want to say that that he didn't want to give Sviar the money. It doesn't work that way. You have to meet somewhere halfway. Right now, Sviar will meet Roma halfway. They're supposed to agree on something along the lines of 3.5 million, all in all. Whereas Sviar's initial request was something like 4 million plus bonuses. So there is always, in negotiations, you always have to hope that the player also makes the effort. The base was built by Pinto, though. I mean, was it? Because you also have Matias Sule on the team. You have Manu Kone on the team. That's not Pinto. That's Ghisolfi, right? And if we want to see a starting lineup for next season, we are also counting on those players, no? So there is, again, why do we always have this thing of, before Pinto, the base belonged to someone else. Before Monchi, the base belonged to Sabatini. It's always like that. We always love to pay our dues to the man who's not there anymore. Oh, it wasn't, it wasn't De Rossi, it was Mourinho. It was Mourinho, it was this and that. I'm happy with anyone but Carnevali the clown. Carnevali, thank God, is not a sporting director, so he's a CEO. Thank God. I don't think. No, I don't. I haven't seen that name. God no. God, God no. God no. Although Carnevali, you would. I mean, he's on good terms with a lot of teams in Serie A. So, and he knows how to annoy the hell out of everybody. So perhaps it would be a good thing to have him on our team. Diego, ciao Andy. Although I was surprised by this decision today, I felt he lacked personality. Probably would have been a turbulent relationship with Gasp. There's no other way than to trust the management here. Again, I just want to stress how completely unbothered those two looked, and in my mind, that leads me to believe that they had a confrontation with Ghisolfi and they came to the conclusion that it's best to part ways, to let him go. It doesn't feel, it doesn't feel like what we saw last summer when Suluku was pulling a lot of the strings behind the scene. You would see Daniele De Rossi clearly uncomfortable with that whole Dybala situation, like he had no say in the matter, like stuff was eating him from inside. I did not have this feeling today. It did not seem like Gasperini was troubled at all. Gasp wants D'Amico next year. I mean, it would, it would make sense to have someone who's close. D'Amico, obviously, a guy who's working for Atalanta. I think the thing with Gasperini is you're dealing with someone who has a bit, a large say in the matter. We thought that Mourinho had a large say in the matter, but I do believe and also sort of the politics of the club are now different. With Mourinho, it was more of like trust the process. Let's see what happens, with Pinto. Whatever. No, then with Gasperini coming in, clearly the Friedkins are putting their faith in his hands, in Ranieri's hands. Like the Friedkins are clearly pushing all of their confidence, everything they have, into the hands of these two guys, these two veterans. One 74 years of age, the other one 67. You know, and perhaps that is what we've been asking all this time. No, I mean, wasn't it didn't we have an issue with the fact that we're putting too much faith in people who are not familiar with the league, do not speak the language, this and that, blah blah blah. Now it's this whole the whole policy of the Friedkins has swung 180 degrees. I mean, this is completely different. This is right now, these two guys have carte blanche. I mean, obviously not in terms of finances, but in terms of decisions. Again, in my mind, it feels like Ghisolfi leaving at this point is strictly related to Gasperini coming in and having a confrontation with him. And Gasperini, who obviously also today, it was very funny. Ranieri said, I didn't like Gasperini either. I wasn't very, we weren't good friends, but he could recognize how great of a coach he is. And he recognizes that Roma need a strong personality. They need a coach who comes in and brings a lot of things to the table and also embodies clearly a certain philosophy, proactive, entertaining, lots of goals. That's what we know his football for. We know Atalanta, and we immediately, the name itself, we already have those images of Atalanta pummeling their opponents 7-0, 6-0, like it was nothing. And by bringing in someone like that, they do what I felt they were going to do. I felt like they were going to do something along the lines of Jose Mourinho, in the sense that Jose Mourinho, the name itself, said everything you needed to know. With Gasperini, it's very similar in terms of the kind of ideas he has. We know what Gasperini stands for. And Ranieri highlighted that, that is sort of what drove the Friedkins to make this decision. He said, Gasperini wasn't the only name there. When he said publicly that Gasperini won't be Roma's new head coach, they still hadn't spoken. So relatively, the talks between Ranieri and Gasperini were relatively recent. But it does feel like in the end, sort of what compelled the Friedkins to pull the trigger on Gasperini was the fact that you're bringing in someone who's got a huge resume, who's got a lot of sort of, he just brings it, he just brings it. The fans, even though they may not like him, they know right away who he is and what he's all about. Ciao. Ciao, Nino. I hope you're enjoying the summer. How do you feel about Roma parting ways with Ghisolfi? Nino, we just talked about it. I said it. I like Ghisolfi. I liked the work he's done. I thought this was going to be a big summer for him. I was curious to see what he was going to be able to do, because I know that last summer, for a fact, Ghisolfi had on numerous times his hands tied because of Suluku. I'm interested in that. I was interested in to see how he was going to be able to impose his own philosophy in Roma's transfer market. But in the end, if this decision is a decision that was taken both by Gasperini and Ranieri, then I have to trust them. I don't have any other way. I can't be here and complain about that if those guys who went up today on the stage and talked to the media and sounded super calm, I can't blame them. If they felt like something wasn't working, if perhaps in the long term there were going to be issues and they resolved it right away, so be it. As a fan and not a journalist, what do you think of the Rios rumors, and do you like him as a player? I haven't seen much from Rios, aside from the little that I saw him with the national team. He looks like a very exciting player. He also looks like a player who's going to go for a lot of money. He looks like a player who's destined for other clubs who are not named Roma. That's my opinion on him. Stadium question, Vic. With Vitali moving on, does Moro jump onto the lead for now, or will someone else be designated for all the stadium discussions with the city? That is a good question. I don't know about that. Ranieri himself said, when he was asked about CEO, he said, I don't know what the Friedkins want to do. He didn't sound like he knew much about Roma looking for someone else. Moro right now obviously is CFO. He's taking over from Vitali. It does seem, again, speculation about Vitali. Friedkins were unhappy with how he was carrying talks for the stadium. It's very complicated. The stadium situation, I don't know. Obviously, for example, someone like Morrow, from the outside, CFO, American, Friedkin's right hand man. What's he gonna do? How is he going to negotiate this? Right now, we don't know that. It would be interesting to see who else is in line for this. But with Vitali gone, I have no idea. I only know that Morrow is taking over for now. 55 viewers and just 24 likes. Come on, guys, pump those numbers up. Thank you so much. Yes, do indeed click the like button so more people can join us. Gasperini obviously also said a lot of things that had to do with, the team's ambitions. He said that right now, with what he's working with, it would be a success if Roma qualify for Champions League next season. But he also said that, we have to be as ambitious as the Friedkins want us to be. And the fact that Napoli won 2 Scudettos in 3 years, it means that the results and the victories are not only bound to northern Italy. Like, it's up for grabs. It is up for grabs. It's something that we've been saying for these last few years. If you look at the number of teams that have won the Scudetto, how it switched between Milan, between Inter, between Napoli and Inter, it makes sense to start to speculate whether, you know by following this project, by staying consistent, can you also insert yourself into that conversation? He said, what matters most is the team. In Rome, you don't have to make plans for 10 years. You have to be concrete. The fans have to identify with the team. This is the first point. The rest comes as a consequence. So again, Gasperini knows fully well why Roma brought him in. He also admitted that Juventus were after him, that he had contact with Juventus, but in the end, he decided to maintain his word with Roma, that he was enthusiastic about this challenge, that he was enthusiastic about, going in an environment where expectations were sort of against him, right? And where Gasperini is not a fool. He knows that he's not exactly the most popular person in the Stadio Olimpico, but the man always had a dog in him. He went and coached a Europa League final in jeans, okay? When everybody else is dressed in a fancy suit, Gasperini wore jeans. I will never forget that. And I think he knows fully well what the people expect of him. He knows fully well why the club went after him. He knows that, we want to see excitement. We want to see a team have fun. He said, what matters most is the team. In Rome, you don't have to make plans for 10 years. You have to be concrete. So despite everything that we've heard about this long-term project, Gasperini also knows that there is an expectation of, you got to qualify for Champions League. You got to make it happen now. I think Roma's shortcomings in recent years have been there for everyone to see. Gasperini is the man who prevented us numerous occasions from qualifying to the Champions League, so he knows what Roma have been missing. And it's also interesting what he says later on about the players, about Pellegrini. He mentions Pellegrini. He says, you can't play well if you're sad and depressed. If you don't have fun, you're not going to have to play. You're not going to be an important player, because you gotta be consistent in how you relate to the rest of the team, and that the fun aspect of it is fundamental. What number do we have to hit by the end of the month to meet our financial fair play? How far away are we currently, James? I don't know. This figure has not been posted anywhere. In the sense, we know what Roma are aiming for. There was an article recently that said, hey, if you take into account Angelino's possible sale to Al Hilal, then Roma would be aiming for around 70 million by the end of the month. I don't know exactly what the figure is because nobody was able to come up with it. There is only that speculation of if Roma sell Angelino and they've sold Enzo Lefe, they've sold Samuel Dahl, they're going to sell Zaleski, perhaps they're going to sell Mario Hermoso or whoever else, they're going to hit about 70 million. Yes, hit the like button. Thank you so much. Congratulations on 2,000 subscribers. Thank you guys because it means a lot. When did we start? When did we start? Yeah, we started the YouTube channel. We started with the live stream. I think I started a year ago, no, less than a year ago. So I appreciate it, everybody. It means a lot. It's fantastic. Yes, I was interested in talking. Well, I was interested also in seeing how Gasperini addresses this thing of, well, who are we right now, and you said, as a coach, you have to give important signals right away, get people on your side. You have to give the team an identity so that the fans recognize themselves in the way the team plays. And if you ask me, based on what we've done here, over a recent. I'm sorry, I mentioned that we started the YouTube, but no, we started the channel 2 years ago, less than 2 years ago. That's sorry. You see, time flies, Jesus. That it screwed my mind. That's why I was a bit reeling from it. Almost 2 years. Wow. Time flies. Yes, this, you have to give the team an identity. The fans have to recognize themselves in the way the team plays. Now, if you ask me, what most of you pointed out numerous times, every time I would do a live stream, every time we would drop a podcast episode, I would see comments that would be about how the team, first of all, is not exciting to watch, how the team doesn't really match the energy that the fans are displaying in the stadium, how the team is slow, how the team lacks personality. That is something that we all saw numerous occasions, that the team lacked personality, or at least they lacked a consistent personality. And what have we learned from Gasperini's Atalanta? As I said before, in my mind, Atalanta have been the most consistent team in all of Serie A since Gasperini joined. Think about the trajectory of Juve over the years. Think about the trajectory of ups and downs of Milan, Inter, Lazio, Napoli. So many ups and downs, so many highs, so many lows. And Atalanta have been the only ones that have consistently exceeded expectations, matched their objectives every year. So that is something that we associate with Gasperini. And Gasperini, by saying this, he recognizes immediately the elephant in the room. Like, that's what's wrong with Roma. That no matter how good they've been in the second half of the season with Ranieri at the helm, the one thing that we can't put our finger on is who they are in terms of their identity. What are they good at? And it will be up to Gasperini, as he says himself, because it's the job of a coach, to get a grasp, to understand, okay, this is what these guys are good at. You know what? I'm going to take the individuals and I'm going to work on them one by one. So he said, if you can raise the level of individual players, the entire team feels it and benefits from it. There are no players who aren't suitable to the way I want to play. So obviously there are, this is one of those things that a coach says just to sort of keep everyone happy. But what he also means by this is that, sky's the limit, in the sense that if you put your mind to it and you work really, really hard with a player one-on-one, you can make that player so much better. And as I've said, the main example is freaking Davide Zappacosta, a guy that we all thought had retired long ago, and he's been one of the best fullbacks in the league this past season. Oh, we got our good friend Mazin. Hi, Andy. I hope all is good, buddy. Thank you so much, Mazin. What are your thoughts on Gasperini playing Dybala, Sule, and Artem together? I think anything's possible. Gasperini dodged the Dybala question very well. He said, "I hope he's doing well. He's a wonderful player when he's healthy." So he didn't really address the thing. He also mentioned Sule. He said, Sule also has all he needs to be successful. I don't honestly know. I don't know much about what he wants to do. I can't see that being an option. It would have to be really worked that hard during preseason, but it's still so early to say. I do think that with today's press conference, Gasperini was on his best behavior, and the main conclusion is you can work on just about anyone, and the team can develop an identity if each player feels like they're bringing the best to the table. He said, I want the boys to have, to each, for all of them, to have the sense that they're having the best year of their career. And that is very important, because so many times we see a certain number of players doing amazing well, and then another number of players that are just sort of on the sidelines, not really part of it, out of it. And that's what we need to fix, is that no matter who gets called upon off that bench, they will produce. That would really needs to be solved this summer. Yes, I was against Gasperini coming in, him being confrontational, unlike Ranieri. But my God, I can't deny that La Magica will be back with him. Let's see. I think right now, today was a beautiful depiction of their energies matching quite well. This is just the beginning, guys. So anything can happen. This is Roma. There's bound to be drama along the way. But I do think that sort of the key to Gasperini is having Ranieri right there. It's for me. It's when he says I rejected Juve. What he means is that Ranieri was there. Like Ranieri was my guarantee at Roma. I didn't have a guarantee at Juve. That's the difference. That with Ranieri, the Friedkins have put themselves in a beautiful position where they can give the responsibility over to someone who's experienced, who wants to be there, who does not want to coach anymore, and who exudes charisma, who also is respected by basically every single person working in the business. So it's like a win-win. And I think that was the key to getting Gasperini. Absolutely. Ghisolfi has already made a mistake in January when he couldn't finalize the sale of Shomurodov. This time, no, wait, whoa, Alessandro, no. Let me say, at least let's give the guy a chance. Shomurodov did not leave because Ranieri stepped in and said you are staying there. So everything was done for Shomurodov. Shomurodov was on his way out. I believe he was on his way to Venezia. Ranieri stepped in and prevented him from leaving. So the Angelino thing is a whole other situation. I also think that the Salmakers situation could have earned them a little bit of criticism in the management. But Shomurodov was absolutely not on Ghisolfi. Shomurodov staying was all of Ranieri wanting him to stay. What do you think Cristante's role will be now with Gasperini, Nino? I assume Kone is a perfect player for Gasperini, so I'm wondering where Brian fits into this being back with the former coach as well. That will be very interesting. We're being linked with so many attacking midfielders. It's something that Roma want to address. And I'm thinking, my goodness, what about Brian Cristante and back in his day when he was an attacking midfielder for Atalanta? What do we think about that? 9 goals in his career year with Gasperini in 2016, 2017, 18. Yeah. What I don't know. I'm curious to see how Brian fits in. Clearly, Cristante is sort of back in the rotation. This was a man who, up until rumors of Gasperini emerged, Cristante was basically guaranteed to leave Roma. There was talk of Como. He was supposedly in talks with Como. Como were willing to pay something like 10 million euros for him. And instead, now the rumors have died down, and it looks like Brian Cristante will be entering what, his eighth season at Roma. So it's pretty amazing. I don't know where he's going to play. Let's wait and see. Cristante doesn't have the legs to play those tactics. I mean, of course not, Jose. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We're talking about Cristante in 2017, 2018. The man hasn't played in that position since then. He's been used all over the pitch, but of course, he doesn't have the gas anymore. He does have the scoring abilities. In my mind, he does. You know, he's got the header, he's got the shot from outside the box, but of course, he's not a box to box anymore. We're talking about these guys as if they're eternal. Let me just check how old Cristante is, because we signed him when he was like 23. Yeah, he's 30. So let's chill. But of course, this is a guy who still had 4 goals, 2 assists this season in Serie A. Yeah, his best. His best scoring season at Roma was the first one when he scored 4 goals. At Atalanta, 9 goals. Of course, this is someone who cannot fill in that role. I'm just kidding, but it will be interesting to see what Gasperini is willing to do with guys like him, with Mancini, guys that he's trained already. The rumor I hear from Arab world is Al Hilal pulled out because of fan backlash. I saw that Saudis hold name regard more than actual performance. Yeah, I saw that. I don't know. I think it seems a bit funny that would cause the deal to collapse. I do think it's more credible that Al Hilal were hoping to secure Theo Hernandez before the Club World Cup, and in the end, that didn't work out. So uh, they sort of gave up on Angelino as well. Uh, Bro, Cristante was pushed to center back at times with Jose. Yeah, absolutely. Cristante was everything. Center back, striker. He was fullback. Ridiculous. Not Roma related. Just want to say Gennaro Gattuso as the new coach for the Italian national team. I couldn't hear John's oof any louder. You know, good news that John's oof will be back soon. But I do agree. The Gennaro Gattuso on the Italy bench. You know, after being linked with Ranieri, you go in the opposite direction. You get a coach that is not only inexperienced, but everywhere that he's been, he's done fairly bad, quite bad, if not terrible. I don't know. All I ask is for a left winger. I don't want to see Pellegrini playing there anymore. I don't think that's going to be the case with Gasperini. I think the man is, and also the man is pretty good exactly at sort of getting the players he wants to do the job he wants. You know, he's not going to sacrifice players. He's not. He doesn't do that. He enhances players, doesn't kill them. Even the players that he has a bad relationship with. Even you go and interview guys that he's had falling outs with. So Ilicic, Papu Gomez, they will all recognize that this guy unlocked something in them that they didn't know was there to begin with. How do Wrench and Salahdin fit with the new coach? I think Wrench fits in fine. The talk is of obviously of Zeki Salik, Saud, and Sangare leaving. Wrench stays where he is. Roma are quite happy with him. I think. I mean, this is a guy who joined in January. He's what 20, 21, 21. In my mind, for the kind of money that you brought him in, for the role that you brought him in, and the situation that you brought him in, the context that he entered, Wrench was a very pleasant surprise. So I think Wrench will be good under Gasperini. Salahdin, I haven't seen anything. You know, I haven't seen enough of him. I don't know exactly the kind of player that we're talking about. Right now, we are not seeing links for a loan, so it looks like he might stay. Obviously, it's quite early on in the window, so anything could happen yet. So what else? What else? Yeah, Gasperini ended the press conference with saying something again that sort of highlights, what we brought him in for. He said, "My thing is I need to have the ball at all times. I feel terrible when my team doesn't have control of the ball. Ideally, you keep possession and attack the opponent high up the pitch." Naturally, you also have to be versatile. But that says everything sort of about but what he wants and what he's known for. He wants you to be aggressive. He doesn't want his team to be complacent. uh you can say, you can use the word complacent for so many teams in Serie A. Even teams like Inter that have been Scudetto winners, you can call them complacent on a number of occasions. You can't say that about Atalanta. Now, again, we're talking about different contexts. We're talking about a different team. But the main reason why you are putting so much faith into a guy like Gasperini is that you're hoping that, he's 67. This is obviously his big opportunity, because before Atalanta, his name was stained with that short-lived spell at Inter. Everybody did not. I mean, everybody thought that he was a failure. That he was, sure, a guy who did okay-ish at Genoa, did okay at Palermo, but that Inter spell of what, 5 games, something like that. That was what stung him the most on his resume. With Atalanta, he was able to build something of his own. The hope is that Roma do the same with him here. But again, guys, we're talking about the key word of the day and of the month and of the year and of all eternity: consistency. It is the word that I use very much on Sunday. And look at us where we are here right now. Would you take the risk on Federico Chiesa? No, please. No, no more. Please. No, 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 no. Also, no, we don't have the money for that. And honestly, Chiesa, I wish him good luck, but no, I don't want to take chances on those players. I want, if anything, give me someone exciting. Give me someone I don't know. I don't want this microwave dish. And I'm a fan of Chiesa. For a long while, I thought he was a very exciting player. He was a great player. He was a player that could change the fate of a lot of teams. Um, but that is not the case right now. I don't think that that is a profile that is worth going in for in this summer. Vic, I don't think Gasperini will have Saladi play the defensive midfielder like in the Dutch national team did the other day. Yes, even Wrench was quite put off by the whole display. Okay, hear me out. What do you guys think of getting Jack Grealish on loan? He has no spot. Manchester City, something like Renato Sanchez type of deal when it's mutual benefit. Someone's got to pay that salary, my man, and that's not going to be Roma. The Roma are not paying that kind of money, guys. Again, listen to what Ranieri is saying. We have to face these next two windows knowing that we're under extreme, very strict supervision by UEFA. He said we are tied to this settlement agreement until 2026. So there are two more transfer windows where we are under strict supervision by UEFA. So Ranieri confirmed 2026 as the end of this current settlement agreement. He said that afterwards, the parameters, the criteria will become more lenient. But right now, we are dealing with a difficult situation. It is not the kind of situation where you go out of your way to try and sign very expensive players on loan. And I don't think that also fits with the kind of thing that Roma want to build. Roma, again, Gasperini says, we want emerging players. We cannot sign established players. We want to take chances. We want to build a team that is deep and has quality players, but without taking those financial risks. Dybala, Sule together with Dovbik would require us to have a hard-working midfield duo. Kone would need a lot of help, and that is the sort of the main point that we've been going over when we're talking about the midfield. Is Kone is an absolute guarantee, but you need someone else. Paredes, in my mind, doesn't fit Gasperini. Paredes also just mentally seems to be somewhere else. He's already in Argentina. He's checked out. So we have to look for someone else. We have to also consider exactly what do you do with Brian Cristante. But yes, absolutely. With Gasperini, you need a midfield that runs all game long. And even if you don't blow that whistle, they keep on running, because that's what a midfield under Gasperini does. So that is the situation, guys. I think we will end it here because Gasperini said it best. He said, I want, at the end of the day, I want my players to have fun. If you're not having fun, you get depressed. And if you're sad and depressed, you can't play well. So that is the number one rule, not only for the players, but for us too. The point is to have fun, guys. We should not be getting depressed. I think the news with Flo and Ghisolfi obviously took us by surprise. Nobody saw this coming. It does obviously point to a certain instability that we're all tired of because we've been craving stability, consistency. It is These are the words that we've been craving. But at the end of the day, if that is an agreement, if that is a mutual conclusion that Ghisolfi, Ranieri, Gasperini all came together to band together and to sort of draw this conclusion and then say, you know what's best for me, Ghisolfi, and what's best for Roma is to go our separate ways, then so be it. I saw those two guys. I saw Gasperini and Ranieri today having the time of their lives up on the stage. They looked like they were on good terms. They looked like they had complete control over the situation. So you know what? I have to entrust myself with them. I have to put my confidence in them. I have to trust their veteran status. I have to trust their experience, and I have to trust that everybody is on the same boat from now on, with potentially either Massara or Balzaretti or whoever it is that's going to come in. The important thing is you got to have someone that knows what the other person wants to do in the room. You can't have too many cooks at the same time. We don't want to repeat the same mistakes we did last year when Lina Soluku, Florent Ghisolfi, and Daniele De Rossi were in the room together. That did not work. That was a recipe for disaster. And then right now, I hope that what we are witnessing is the compilation of a delicious recipe that will result in Roma having a good preseason, good transfer window, and hopefully a good season ahead. But that is still a long way to go. In the meantime, guys, as I said, we are hoping to be back with the podcast very, very soon. So keep an eye out for that. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to help Roma Press and going forward, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/Roma Press. Guys, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for joining me today. Until next time, as always, Forza Roma.